Eric Mashinsky here with the Gold Investment Letter, June 10th, here with Paul Cowley and Dave Matheson from, Dave's a board member. Are you a board member now, Dave, of First Vanadium?
No, I'm not. An advisor and helper.
Advisor.
Yes.
You're an advisor, got it. And Paul Cowley, President and CEO. A lot of our group knows you from our very exciting ride in the vanadium space over the last couple of years. And today we've got an update on First Vanadium, on the vanadium aspect of the Carlin project. But what's happened over a little bit of time here is that we've seen some really interesting developments about potential for gold. And Dave's background in Nevada, and Paul as a geologist as well, has them really excited about this. So I wanted to hear more and pass this along to our members. So Paul, take the floor, please. And
all right. It's Paul Cowley here with President and CEO of First Vanadium. As you may know, I'm a geologist with 40 years experience in the field and have been involved with 4 gold deposit discoveries myself, over 6 million ounces of gold. But we also have with us Dave Matheson, who is a brilliant and legendary geologist that is so familiar and so accomplished in the Carlin gold trend. Dave was involved as a regional manager for Newmont for a number of years, and also Gold Standard Ventures. Had many accomplishments, knows the Carlin trend so well that he has a number of gold deposit discoveries in his name, and many millions of ounces of gold attributed to him. So Dave, we're very, very privileged to have him on our team and have him on the call. Thanks very much, Dave.
Thank you.
We're very excited about this. We think we have a very legitimate chance on discovering a Carlin high-grade gold deposit. Before touching base on that, I want to just touch base on the vanadium. This is still a very, very important asset for the company. I see this from a number of reasons. This is a strategic metal for the U.S. Homeland Security, because vanadium is not produced in the U.S. and it needs a domestic source. Remembering that we are North America's largest, highest grade primary vanadium resource. We strongly believe that the vanadium price will recover. That's driven by vanadium redox flow batteries in the green energy space, in wind and solar applications. And we're starting to see lithium batteries in those applications underperforming, and companies looking at replacing those lithium batteries for vanadium batteries. So this is a start of the trend. The Vanadium project is a future call on vanadium. The PEA came out with a 16-year mine life, showed a lot of opportunities for lowering the capex. A very, very significant aspect is the operating cost projection is in the lower quartile vanadium operating producers, which obviously is very, very important to be competitive. You want to be in that lower cost curve. And so I just want to look at this very, very quickly. This is a graph of all the vanadium producers. All these dots are vanadium producers, and how much it costs for them to produce a pound of V205. And you can see where our projection is in this lower quartile. Gives us great advantage over all of these other producers. That shows that we've got a very good asset. Immediate opportunity is this gold opportunity, high grade Carlin style gold. And it's pinned on some very, very compelling components: the people, the location, and the compelling science. The people being the skill sets. Dave and myself, track records of multiple deposit discoveries. Location, being in the Carlin trend, is just a phenomenal opportunity. You're in the premier gold trend of the U.S., and that just elevates your opportunity possibilities, the probabilities of success. So we're tapping in to one of the most prolific gold trends, the Carlin gold trend, in their plumbing system by a renowned and proven mine finder, Dave Matheson, with very, very compelling science. We have evidence in the local, regional, as well as on the property of geological and geophysical ingredients and evidence to show that there's a gold system there. It's extremely rare for a junior company of this size to have 2 geologists that have found 10 gold deposits. That's really extraordinary. And we're really pinning it a lot, of course, on Dave, who's an authority on the Carlin gold trend, because that's where we are. and he knows that the geology, the structures, the system so well that he's repeatedly found deposits. And even within 10 kilometers of our property, he's found 6 deposits, 5 million ounces of gold. And on the Gold Standard Ventures property, which is only 5 kilometers away, he found deposits there for Gold Standard Ventures, acquired deposits. And their market cap is almost 40 times ours. Just shows the caliber of people, the quality, the skill sets and successes, but also the value of being in the Carlin Trend gives you a premium. Turning to the location, it's phenomenal. We're within 6 miles of major highway and rail hub, power and mining community. Dave, you've worked in this area for many years. Maybe you could have a few comments on what this infrastructure means to you.
Absolutely, Paul, and thank you very much. And I'm very pleased to be part of this program. I think it presents a very good opportunity for discovery. Going back in time a little bit, I first began serious work while with Newmont in the immediate vicinity of South Carlin in the Rain District. And just a little background there. When I was assigned by agreement with Bruce Harvey to the Rain District, there was comments that the Rain District itself was a small deposit over drilled district. Well, in fact, there were approximately 1,800 holes drilled in the district. There were 2 discoveries amounting the Rain deposit and Emigrant Springs, the north part of Emigrant Springs, amounting to about 1.5 million ounces. What I saw when I entered the Rain District was that it was a much bigger situation than anybody had imagined. I saw system activity over a large area, approximately 30 square miles. And I recommended a number of acquisitions. And upon those acquisitions, I got the drill into play and began the discovery process. This began in 1992 while with Newmont. And so I have a long history with the rocks in the area. We proceeded to discover, well, first the test deposit in, mid-1992, then Northwest Rain, which is back toward the Rain deposit, which has now been mined out underground by Newmont. And then further to the northwest, along the same major structure, I discovered the Saddle deposit. Very excited. This is a portion of the Carlin Trend. It's clearly on the Carlin Trend, which I refer to as the best gold crack maybe on the planet, with in the range of about 200 million ounces of discovered or prospective gold, and probably more to come. It's you know that the merger of Newmont and Barrick in this area, they formed Nevada Gold Mines, and it is what I believe is the largest gold operation in the world. The infrastructure there probably amounts to I don't have a good number for that necessarily, but in the range of about $2 billion of infrastructure with processing plants that'll process anything that's in the area. And this is, of course, a great advantage for the future. We're Carlin Vanadium property is within trucking distance of a number of easy trucking distance. Well, the Carlin Trend itself is a major crustal suture, and that's the reason for the gold being there. And there's clearly a lineup, a north-northwest trending lineup of gold deposits that are some of the largest gold deposits in the world. Yes.
So one thing that people may be thinking, Dave, is that the majors, Newmont and Barrick, been there for years. Haven't they found everything?
No, that's it really takes a breakout from that corporate world into the more thoughtful, taking a chance. And I'm a risk taker by my nature. that is, I will drill holes. And obviously, that's the only way to make a discovery, so that needs to be done. The opportunities remain there in spite of all the work that's been done. These deposits, they're not easy to find. It takes good geological prowess and thinking. It is an iterative process where you get some information and then redesign, adjust, and hopefully you can do that within a typical prospect, within a half a dozen or so holes is what it ordinarily takes to make a good decision on what it's all about. You need that third dimension, absolutely. What I've seen in the Carlin Vanadium property area is that it's very strong system indicators at the surface. Very strong. It's
David,
as strong as, yes?
If I could interject just one thing on this particular slide. This is longitudinal section right from north to south of the Carlin trend. And this is a cross section, or a longitudinal section that Dave built with all of his knowledge, all of the background information that he had available from Newmont. And because he knows the system so well, this is the go-to long section that all geologists use when we go into Carlin. And I would point out too that in central Carlin, where my cursor is, they've made some significant contributions there for ounce gaining in gold quarry and Mike at depth. And then in the South Carlin, which would be this area here, this is where for Newmont and Gold Standard Ventures.
That's where I spent a good deal of my career, and with companies, primarily Newmont and also Gold Standard Ventures.
So I'll just just move to the next slide. These are a couple of slides that Dave put together, and I'll just make a couple of points before passing it back to Dave. This shows the southern part of the Carlin Gold Trend. It shows the importance of the structures that Dave knows about, that geologists know about, the alignment of gold deposits here in red. There's 9 million ounces of gold basically within 15 kilometers of our property here. There's the coincidence on the right-hand side of the gravity anomalies that are associated with these structures and deposits, and we see that same thing on our property here. So I'll just pass it back to Dave on comments further on that, and why we strongly believe that there's a gold system that's on our property.
While the Carlin trend generally follows a north-northwest, south-southeast pattern, these other structures are key because they are the big structures that provided the feeder structures for the gold. Those feeder structures have clearly tapped into much deeper sutures where gold originated, in my view, in the upper mantle, lower crust, oceanic crust regimes, many miles below the surface. And that gold found its way to the surface. And we're looking at it at various levels throughout, well, the Carlin trend. The Rain District has gold at the surface and gold at many hundreds and if not thousands of feet.
This might be a useful slide for people to visualize the third dimension on our target, and where the vanadium deposit would lie up in this rock type. That these deposits, which are analogous to all these deposits around the area, are snuggled up along the side of these master structures, like that north structure that's going through our property. And the evidence of leakage up these structures to surface, which we see on our property here. We've got exposures of gold, mercury, and quartz, as well as when we were drilling our vanadium deposit in this shallow part. There's the north structure there. All of this red and pink is dolomite alteration that's penetrated into the stratigraphy that's at least 2 kilometers long. So these are surface evidence of a gold system that's related to what we think is right here, and that's what we're going after.
Yes, and you really want to get down to where, in this case, the blue rocks are, which are the carbonates. They are the critical lithologies that created these deposits. The deposits on the Carlin trend are dominantly comprised of these collapsed breccias, and they can be very high grade. That's another feature Very important to these Carlin type deposits is they do tend to be large, and as they're close enough to the surface, the low grade can be mined by open pit methods, obviously. At these underground situations, the low grade cannot be mined, so you have to zero in, so to speak, on the high grade portions of these deposits that tend to snuggle, as Paul described, up against these structures. Now, there's nothing that you can see necessarily at the surface to suggest where these are. This is all, it's a drilling process to zero in, and I call it a vectoring process. We have a lot of information to show us approximately where things are on the basis of some of the surface leakage, the gravity work, the structures that are represented at the surface, the lithologies, and so on and so forth. But it is a drilling process to make the discovery.
Dave, you'd mentioned to me earlier today that you thought that the surface expression of what's on the Carlin Vanadium property is stronger than what you saw on some of the deposits that you discovered for Newmont.
It is, and obviously, and we're telling you that the drill holes have never been drilled down into anywhere near the target depth, but what you see at the surface is strongly suggests something below, cooking or working below, that created these deposits. The mineralization will be found down in the carbonate rocks that have received damage from hydrothermal activity and gold deposition related to that hydrothermal activity.
Dave, I can tell that you're super excited about it, and I know you can talk forever, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that would like to hear you more and more your thoughts. Basically, I just like to wrap up to say that this is a target that we are looking to drill in late summer and fall, and so over the course of a number of months between now and the end of the year, to do this iterative campaign of drilling to make potentially a gold deposit discovery. That's a big catalyst for us this year. The near-term opportunity is huge for the gold.
A couple last things, maybe to wrap it up. So Dave, I mean, any other things come to mind that you want to share with us? I mean, this is a quick sort of presentation, but I mean, you've got a lot of experience here. So any cream that you'd like to add to the top of the story?
Well, the cream would be the quality of some of these underground style collapsed breccia hosted deposits. They tend to be very high grade. There's some notable ones. For example, one of the best examples I like is Deep Star, which was approximately 2.23 million ounces at right around 1 ounce per ton grade. Nearer to this property is the Saddle deposit, which is, there's various cutoffs that you can use, but 2 to 2.5 million ounces at about a 0.4 ounce per ton grade. And these deposits also tend to be very mineable in that the gold hangs very tightly together. Once you're in the high grade, they're relatively easily mined because of the coherency of these deposits. And these days, almost all the mining of the gold produced on the Carlin Trend is coming from underground mining operations, and they are the most profitable mines on the trend at this time.
Interesting. Well, I guess it would make sense that in the Carlin Trend, the Carlin property would actually have some gold in it, but you never know until we try, right? So, you know, I think that would be good for now, guys. If you have any final comments, Paul, feel free. I mean, what we're going to do is circulate this to mostly our long-standing shareholders, which are pretty familiar with the story, for an update on the vanadium, but then also to let them know about the exciting transition as we enter a gold bull market and still have a tiny valuation for First Vanadium, a very tight capital structure, and now, you know, 2 potential areas for catalysts